Hey everyone, good to see you all. Welcome back if you've been here before. If you're new to the channel, I'm glad that you finally found me. I hope you hear something that will resonate with you, or at least hear something that'll make you want to come back. I'm not the greatest reader, but we will get the message. We will share the message. January 19th, contributing our creativity. Some of us discover that we have talents for contributing to the world in other ways, whether through our creativity, our empathy, or our addict ability to focus on one thing and do it till it's done. Living Clean, Chapter 1, A Vision of Hope. In NA, we often recall how drugs ruined our lives and how our innate talents were ultimately no match for our disease. When we were using, however, many of us believed that the drugs we used were fundamentally responsible for the positive contributions we made to our lives. Drugs allowed us to be confident about expressing ourselves socially, artistically, and sexually. They helped us fall asleep at night and wake up in the morning so that we could be there for our kids after work and before school. Using gave us lesser sharp focus and heightened our productivity at work, which pleased our employers and soothed our insecurities. Still, we eventually came crashing down, as one member put it. I thought I was high functioning, but it turns out I was just high. When we first get clean, we are terrified that our performance will suffer and we'll disappoint others. With no drugs, we believe we are no longer creative beings, or we're talentless hacks who never were. We doubt we'll be able to function, let alone complete projects on a deadline. Will our family still love us? Because surely we will be less easygoing and fun. And what about sex? As we heal, we begin to understand that the deep well of our creativity, our empathy, and our focus comes from developing a more honest relationship with ourselves and a connection to a higher power. We learn to acknowledge and release, even a tiny bit, our need for perfection and validation. Our expectations of ourselves become more realistic, and that gave us more integrity in how we contribute to our lives. We we refocus the wasted energy we spent comparing ourselves to others towards being of service to fellow addicts and to our loved ones, and we may even discover new talents and abilities we never knew we had. I know I have something to offer the world. If I don't know what it is, I am willing to ask for help to find out. If I already know, let me seek guidance on how to deliver it with humility and generosity. Yeah, me too. You um, man, I really hate when that happens. I had a great thought to share and I completely lost it. Sometimes, sometimes I can't tell if I'm getting better at remembering things that I want to talk about or that I want to share, or if maybe if it's getting worse on my memory. I mean, I also have to remember that I polluted my body for almost 50 years of my existence. And that's a lot of, and I forget, I guess, that's a lot of shit that I put my body through and that I put my mind through, and the faction, I can't even speak, and the fact, and the, man, and the man, my mind completely went blank that time. How can I get good at sharing these messages and sharing these stories and sharing my recovery and trying to do all these little things to put myself out there when I constantly forget what I'm talking about and I constantly forget what I'm saying. I could be in a complete sentence and be halfway through the sentence and my mind will go completely blank, like I'm staring at a white wall. I mean, maybe it's from my prolonged use of using dope over the years, and maybe or hopefully if it's gonna take time for me to increase those skills set again, or to so that way when I'm trying to talk to you or when I'm trying to talk to people in general that you know I just don't constantly seem like I don't have a clue what I'm talking about when I know the messages that I'm trying to get across, but yeah, it never comes out the way that I'm actually thinking about it. And then when I try to share what I'm thinking about, then my brain goes blank. It's so frustrating and aggravating, and I'm trying so hard to make a difference, and it's like the harder I try, the more disappointing I'm either making myself or just the more disappointing I'm getting in general, which sounds really weird for me to say because I'm not depressed and I'm not really disappointed in anything because I'm doing a lot better than I ever have done in my life. The only difference is that now I absolutely have nobody in my life that I can rebuild relationships, and while I was still using and ruining my life and everybody else's, well, those people were still alive when I was burning those bridges and hurting those people. And now that everybody's dead, I can't collaborate with anybody or show people who knew me from my past can see. I don't know. Sometimes I listen to myself talk and then I start questioning myself, like because sure, before when I was using all the time, I was constantly looking for validation and constantly wanting to be noticed or heard or whatever, and it was all for the wrong reasons. You know, now that I'm in a position to completely change my life and I don't have a clue what I'm doing, you know, nor do I have any money to do anything with, and that's the one good thing is today I take responsibility for myself today, so today all my money goes towards bills and whatnot, whereas before I would just not pay nothing and just keep fucking up my life. But now I work hard every day to better myself and to constantly or to continually do things that will make me a better person. You know, make me a better version of myself today than I was yesterday. And, and for the most part, I do believe that I am slowly having some success, but it's hard to tell sometimes because, again, I don't have anybody leering over my shoulder, keeping me accountable. I got to keep myself accountable. And sure, it'd be nice to have somebody leering over my shoulder and saying, hey, maybe you should try this or maybe you should do that. And I don't mean in regards to my recovery in general per se. I'm just talking about in anything that I'm trying to excuse me, anything that I'm trying to accomplish today to become more successful. I mean, it's obvious today with the skill set that I have and with the things that I went to college for and stuff, so I'm not gonna go out and get a job in a gas station, especially at this point in my life, so and with the way the future is progressing, with AI and all these other things that are going on in the world, and well, working in a gas station isn't going to keep me on top of that. And sure, it might help to pay a bill, but I'm 53 years old, so I mean, do I continue to sacrifice and just take any job possible just so that I'm working and not doing anything? Then obviously I'm not gonna carry on with the stuff that I'm doing today. I wouldn't be able to. But I mean, I'm running 5 YouTube channels right now, and if I come up with some decent ideas, I will start some other ones too. But I need some really solid ideas, and sure, right now it is about getting the message out there and sharing a part of sharing my recovery or things that I got going on in my life today with all of you. Again, I just lost my train of thought again. Anyway, I guess that's enough rambling for today. Thank you for joining me today. I appreciate every one of you. And if nobody's told you today that they love you, well, I love you. And I'm a 53-year-old recovering addict trying to make a difference in his life and maybe in the world. Just an addict trying to take one day at a time. And I need 1,000 subscribers is my goal, and 4,000 watch hours. But if I could come up with some really solid things to talk about, and then to be able to talk about them where I can at least sound like I know what I'm talking about, then maybe I can make some longer videos, because yeah. Anyway, thank you everybody for joining me today. I appreciate every one of you, and I know I've said this already, but if nobody's told you today that they love you. Well, I love you, and we'll see you again real soon. Okay, bye for now. And yeah, thanks everybody.